UFC 274 this weekend from Phoenix, Arizona. In the main event for the lightweight championship of the world, the champion, Charles "Do Bronx" Oliveira, taking on Justin "The Highlight" Gaethje. And in the co-main event, it is a rematch of the strawweight division's first ever championship fight in Rose Namajunas and Carla Esparza. Can Esparza make it 2-0 against Thug Rose? And then also your feature bout, Michael Chandler, Tony Ferguson, pure chaos in the lightweight division. And then also, Cowboy and Joe Lauzon are fighting, and also OSP and Shogun are fighting. So that would have been cool if this was 2014. But folks, if you have not yet, make sure that subscribe button down below for some more UFC here on the channel. We've got 15 fights coming up this Saturday night. And also tomorrow we will have our Bellator Paris and our PFL number 3, week number 3 predictions here on the channel. I don't know why PFL couldn't come up with a better or a higher quality poster, but there it is. And of course, Bellator in the main event, you've got for the heavyweight championship, Czech Congo fighting at home against Ryan Bader. So be on the lookout for those tomorrow. And I almost forgot, last week we went 6-5. Main event, Font Vera. Rob Font's a tough damn dude, and if he could take damage better, Rob Font would be a problem. That jab works really well now. He didn't really hurt Cheeto at all in that fight, but we went 6-5. The classic Andre Arlovsky by decision hit. Say what you want about that decision, but we got the win. So 6-5 on that card. I think we can do better this week. And here we go. So our first fight is Cameron VanCamp taking on Andre Fialho. I don't know why they're doing this to Cameron VanCamp. I don't know exactly what happened because I get various reports that he was signed obviously to fight Moda back last year in September, but then that fight never happened. Did he get cut? I don't know. Some people are saying he got cut. Some people are saying that he didn't. I'm not sure. But now he's back and now he's taking on Andre Fialho, and this fight just got announced yesterday. I'm recording this, or this is coming out on Sunday anyway. I'm recording this on Sunday, and the fight was just announced yesterday during the fight night card. So Fialho wanted to have a quick turnaround after beating Miguel Baeza, and the guy's a problem. Fialho's very good. I know he came in, he lost to Michel Pereira, but he comes back just 3 months later and he knocks out Miguel Baeza in the first round. Who's to say he's not going to do that same exact thing to Cameron VanCamp? Because honestly, Miguel Baeza is better than Cameron VanCamp. VanCamp's a guy who hasn't really fought anyone outside the UFC. He fought Austin Hubbard once, but he lost. He fought Aaron Highball, but he hasn't fought the greatest guys outside the UFC. He hasn't fought since last year, since it was late 2021 where he last fought. He's really good on the ground, but if he can't take Fialho down, he's not going to be able to do anything against him. I think Fialho's going to be able to keep this fight standing. The way he, went after Miguel Baeza in that fight where, the short uppercuts that sent Baeza flying eventually, the guy's a problem. He's a very good striker. Now, can Baeza take all that much damage at this point in his career, even though he's 4 fights in? I don't know, but Fialho's very good, man. I think he's going to come in here. I think he's going to knock out Cameron VanCamp pretty quickly. I'm going Andre Fialho to kick off the card with the first round knockout. Next up, we've got the UFC debut of Fernie Garcia, and he's taken on Journey Newson. For Newson, he is 1-2 in the UFC, but his win at UFC 247 over Domingo Pilarte has been overturned. Now, would it get overturned now because of marijuana? It wouldn't have, but at the time it got overturned. But he does still have that knockout win over Domingo Pilarte. But after that Pilarte win, he turns around against Randy Costa, and Costa knocks him out in 40 seconds. It's Costa's best win to date. It's the fight that gets Costa on the map, and Newson's on the other side of it. His first fight in the UFC 2 was in Minneapolis, Minnesota, when he lost to Ricardo Ramos by unanimous decision. In that fight, it was Ramos dominating the fight just everywhere it did go, on the ground, on the feet. It was just all Ricardo Ramos in that fight. Mostly just a stand-up affair, though, and Ramos winning up there. As for Ramos' opponent, though, as for Newson's opponent here in Fernie Garcia, he got his first knockout win on the Contender Series, last fall, beating Josh Weems with a big overhand right, put him down, and finished him on the ground. Herb Dean waved that fight off. Before that, he fought Laden Alafay. Only had one loss over there, only one loss in his pro career. Is that split decision loss back in 2019 against Cody Freeman. But after that, he won 5 straight fights, getting his way into the Contender Series, and of course winning and punching his ticket into the UFC. Again, we said it earlier, that was his first knockout win of his entire career. Mostly a guy in Garcia who does touch up guys in the feet, doesn't usually get knockouts, and then goes to the ground if he needs to. Does have 3 submission wins on his record at 6 decision and 1 by KO. I'm not that high on Journey Newson. He knocked out Domingo Pilarte, but Domingo Pilarte, let's face it, just isn't all that great. He's not. He lost to Colares and Kelleher in the UFC. I'm not sure if Domingo Pilarte is still in the UFC, but he got knocked out by Journey Newson. If Newson isn't able to land a bomb, I just think he's going to have problems with Garcia. I think all around Garcia is just better. I think his cardio is better than Newson. So I think if he does want to take this one to a decision, I think it will go, I think Newson's going to be more Garcia's going to be more well conditioned to go to that lengths. Power-wise, you can probably match these guys up. They're identical, I think. Again, Garcia doesn't throw the most power. He did get the finish on the contender, but you don't expect that every time out of his fights. I'll be damned if he knocks out Newson again in 2 minutes like he did in his last fight. I could see Newson landing a bomb, but still, I like Fernie Garcia all around. I think he's better than Newson. Going with Fernie Garcia to pick up his first win in the UFC in his first outing. Now at strawweight, we have got Carnelossi taking on Lupi Godinez. Two fighters who are very, I would say, physically strong at 115. For Godinez, obviously her last fight was a win over Loma Luponi, where she just outmuscled Luponi, took her down, held her down, and that's usually how Lupi wins her fights. Like you look at the Silvana Gomez Juarez fight. Now she didn't like hold her down for the entire fight. She submitted her in about 4 minutes because, let's be real, Gomez Juarez isn't the greatest in the ground. I mean, she gets submitted pretty easily. Hell, look at Vanessa Demopoulos submitting Gomez Juarez, but that's what Godinez is always trying to do. She's trying to out like muscle her opponents, take them down, hold them down. That's what she did to Jessica Penne, and let's be honest, she probably won that fight against Penne, even though the judges gave it to Jessica Penne in that one. But Godinez, for like, honestly, should be 3-1 in the UFC. The one loss is to Luana Carolina, where Carolina was just bigger than her. I mean, Godinez comes up to 125. She takes the fight on really short notice, and she has a close and competitive fight with Carolina. I mean, she goes 2 for 15 on her takedown. She's got 8 minutes of control. She just loses 2 rounds in that fight. I mean, it's just that simple. She wins the first, drops the next 2. But I mean, it wasn't a horrible performance against Carolina. She just took that fight on short notice. She gassed after she got the takedown in the first and really couldn't do much with that fight afterwards. But other than that, man, Godinez has been really good in the UFC. Again, her dominant wrestling, she's always trying to be on top. That's going to be tough against Carnelossi because you see Carnelossi's running the UFC so far. She comes in, she runs into Angela Hill her first fight. Fight gets stopped due to a cut. It's just a pure stand-up fight. Angela Hill gets the better of her. That's all right. Angela Hill's a top 15 fighter. So Carnelossi turns that around into Jacksonville. She takes on Liang Na. It's the first fight with the crowd back. It's a crazy fight, honestly. Those two traded for the first couple minutes of that fight. But eventually, Liang Na's the one pushing the pace on the ground. She's the one trying to shoot for takedowns. So she does get takedowns, but Carnelossi is able to, reverse that positioning multiple times in that fight because she is physically stronger than Liang Na, and she's able to win that fight by ground and pound in the second round. And then her last fight, Estela Nunez, it was just dominant wrestling by Carnelossi. Nunez is kind of piecing Godinez. She is just kind of piecing Carnelossi up on the feet, but Carnelossi is able to go back to the well with the takedowns and take down Nunez, and eventually, I believe, she finished with the rear naked choke in the third round. So, and that was on the same card as Godinez's last fight as well, or Godinez's fight against Luana Carolina. So that was on Ladd and Dumont. But that's what Carnelossi's trying to do. She's trying to get the fight to the ground for the most part, and she is trying to execute down there. But the thing is, again, against Lupita Godinez, is she going to be able to do that? I don't know. And is Godinez going to be able to execute her game plan against Carnelossi? I do not know. Because on the feet, I do like Carnelossi. I think Carnelossi is a better striker than Godinez, definitely. So I think it does benefit Godinez if she's the one trying to get the fight on the ground. And I think the takedowns will be open for her. Like when you look at Liang Na taking down Ariane Carnelossi, if Na can do it, then Godinez can definitely do it. It's just a matter of, can Carnelossi then reverse positioning on the ground like she did against Liang Na, or is she going to stay on her back and let Godinez work on top? That's basically the big question mark in this fight. I think it's one of the tougher ones to pick on the entire card. You're looking at Carnelossi plus 170. You're looking at Godinez minus 200. Again, tremendous fight. I'm really, really excited to see what happens in this one. Again, don't let the record of Godinez in the UFC sour you. I mean, 2-2, let's be real, she should be 3-1. And one of those fights that she lost to Carolina was on short notice. It was a week after her previous fight against Gomez Juarez, and it was up a weight class. So I think Godinez wins. I picked against her in the Loma Luponi fight. I don't know why I did that, let's be real. But I thought Luponi was going to be able to keep the fight standing, use her Muay Thai. Didn't go our way. I'm going to go with Godinez. I think she'll be able to execute takedowns in this one, and I don't think Carnelossi is going to be able to reverse the positioning. So I'm going to go with Lupita Godinez to beat Ariane Carnelossi. I think she gets it done by unanimous decision. Next up at flyweight, we have got CJ Vergara taking on Clayton Rodrigues, 2 Contender Series alums in this fight going at it. And for Vergara, he got his contract by knocking out Bruno Correa. He knocked him down early in that fight with the right, I think it was a right hook, and then he finished him with a knee to the body, finishing that fight in 40 seconds. It was a good win for him because obviously he was the underdog in that fight. So they turn him around quickly. Less than 2 months later, he takes on Ode Osborne, the Picasso of MMA. And Ode just kind of, it's kind of competitive. It's a 2-1, decision victory for the Jamaican sensation, or the Picasso of MMA, whatever you want to call him, and Ode Osborne. It's a good one for Osborne. I'm a fan of Osborne, and he just outstruck Vergara when it counted. You look at that fight, Osborne won the first, Vergara wins the second, and Osborne comes back. Osborne wins the second and the first, and Vergara comes back in the third round, winning that. Osborne banked 2 and lost the third. As for Clayton Rodrigues, picking up the win in the Contender Series, he just dominated his opponent in that fight. I mean, it was just a beatdown. He outstruck his opponent in that fight 91-21. It wasn't competitive at all. It was all Clayton Rodrigues in that one, 30-27 on all the judges' scorecards. You look at his run before the UFC, he picks up a win 2 years prior to that Contender Series victory over Eduardo Henrique da Silva, winning the Jungle Fight Flyweight Championship over in Brazil with a rear naked choke in the second round. But he did take 2 years off in between that, and of course winning on the Contender, which is a good win. But I mean, we're gonna see in this fight because Vergara's got more power, and especially Vergara has got a lot of power for being a flyweight. I mean, look at his fights before the UFC. The win over Jacob Silva, KOing him at Fury FC, and Jacob Silva's a guy that the UFC, was looking at for a little bit, and they were looking at they're looking at Silva for a while. And now he's 8-7, which really sucks because they gave him 3 shots in the Contender, or they gave him 2 with Molina and Bays, and then he fought Vergara, and if he won that fight, he's probably gonna go back on the Contender. And now he's on a 2-fight losing streak, losing 2 straight fights at Fury. He just lost last week to Cleveland McLean. But yeah, it sucks for Jacob Silva. Anyways, for Vergara, right, he beats Silva with KO. He beats Sean Solis as well. He beats Emerson Garcia. He's got a lot of power for being a 125-pounder. It's just, can he get to Rodrigues in this fight, and can he be able to hit Rodrigues enough to knock him out? I don't know, because Rodrigues got a pretty solid chin. He hasn't been finished so far in his career. And I think the volume out of Rodrigues is going to be huge in this one. I think he will be able to touch up Vergara in this fight. If he can just stay out of danger, I think he should have enough to beat Vergara in this one. Going Clayton Rodrigues, I just think all around he's better. Minus 275. I think it's a pretty safe pick here. Going with Clayton Rodrigues to beat CJ Vergara by unanimous decision. So next up, we've got Tracy Cortez taking on Melissa Gatto. As for Tracy Cortez, still undefeated in the UFC, coming in, beating Vanessa Mello her first fight by unanimous decision, then beating Stephanie Egger, and then she barely got by Justine Kish in her last fight, where she barely wins it by split decision. And you're thinking at the time, well, damn, that's not a great win because Justine Kish isn't all that in the UFC. I mean, to that point, she only beat Puzelova. She lost to Jin Yeon Kim, Felice Herrig, and Sabina Mazo. To that point, she, has a somewhat competitive fight with Cortez. So you're thinking, damn, I mean, that's not that great. But then Kish comes in, she loses to Deanna Bennett. Then she beats Lima McFarlane in her last fight, which was just interesting. I didn't think she was going to win that fight. No one thought she was going to win that fight. But when you look back at that fight for Cortez, again, it's the takedowns that end up winning the fight against Kish. Kish does knock her down in that fight, but still Cortez does win a split decision. You look at her opponent in Melissa Gatto, and there was so many questions around Gatto coming into the UFC because her last one was in 2018 before heading into the promotion. It was in 2018 where she beats Carol Hossa by first round Kimura. She submits her, which is crazy because Carol Hossa is a very good UFC fighter. And then she doesn't fight for 3 years. She comes in, she takes on Victoria Leonardo, who at the time, I mean, Leonardo's not a great UFC fighter. I don't even know if she's still in the promotion. The doctor stopped the fight after the end of the first round, but it was just Gatto, or after the end of the second round, I think. It's just Gatto, though, dominating Leonardo on the feet. She does land a takedown in the fight as well, but it's all Gatto in that fight. And they turned Gatto around against a pretty tough opponent, honestly, in Sijara Eubanks, and she TKO Sarge with a body kick in the third round. I mean, straight up, Gatto beats Eubanks in that third. It's not a great fight. It's, let's be honest, pretty boring because Eubanks just does control Gatto on the ground in the first round. The second round is somewhat competitive. You got to give it to Gatto, I think. So the third, winner's going to win the fight. You see Eubanks tiring. Gatto hits her with a tremendous kick to the body, and it ends the fight, sits down Eubanks, and she wins. Now, in this one, you look at it stylistically, Tracy Cortez is going to have to take down Melissa Gatto to win this fight. I think she's going to have to. I mean, she's going to have to do what Eubanks did in the first round of the Gatto with her and Gatto in their fight, because I think Melissa Gatto is really good on the feet. And yes, Gatto's jiu-jitsu is pretty good, but if Cortez is able to implement her wrestling and hold down Melissa Gatto and avoid, whatever jiu-jitsu attacks she's going to throw up from her back, then Cortez should be able to win. If she can't do that, though, if she can't take down Melissa Gatto, I mean, hell, we saw Tracy Cortez get outstruck by Justine Kish in the feet. So I think Melissa Gatto would outstrike Cortez as well. So that's what you look at in this fight. Tracy Cortez, very good wrestler, but still 46% accuracy so far in the UFC, excuse me. As for Gatto, Eubanks went 1 for 4 on her takedowns, and Leonardo went 0 for 3 on hers. So Gatto, pretty solid defensively sound when it comes to the takedown defense. I think she's going to be able to keep the fight standing against Cortez, and I think she'll win. And again, if Gatto can keep this one on the feet, she's a better striker than Tracy Cortez. She'll throw a whole lot of more kicks than Cortez is going to do. She's just going to offer up a lot more than what Cortez can throw at her. And I think it's a problem for Cortez again if Gatto can't keep her standing. I think that's what's going to happen. So I'm going to go with Melissa Gatto to beat Tracy Cortez. I think she keeps it on the feet, avoids the ground. And even if Cortez is able to get on the ground, I think Gatto should be able to work back up. I know she couldn't against Eubanks in the first round, but I think as the fight progresses, I think Gatto will get better. I'm going to take the underdog here. I'm taking Gatto at plus 150 to beat Tracy Cortez. I think she gets it done by unanimous decision. And Trinaldo is back. Yes, a 43-year-old Francisco Trinaldo is still fighting in the UFC, and he's coming off a win, and he's won 4 out of his last 5 fights, which is crazy. Francisco Trinaldo is still winning in the UFC, and he's still able to do what he does in every single fight, and it's just out-volume his opponents, barely throw more than what his opponents throw, barely land more than what his opponents land, and winning the fight. I mean, you look at the Dwight Grant fight, it's nothing special. Let's be real. I mean, the win over Dwight Grant is nothing special at Trinaldo. And now, Dwight Grant's come back and he lost to Sergey Kondosko in his last fight. He got knocked out in the second round. Kind of a crazy fight. But Dwight Grant, gets outstruck by Trinaldo. Trinaldo doesn't, throw that many punches, and he just kind of waits for his spots, and then unloads. I mean, Trinaldo's not one of those guys who throws a whole lot of volume in his fight, but he's able to just outland his opponents. And that's probably contrary to what I said earlier, but you get what I mean, right? I mean, Trinaldo just lands more than his opponents. He picks his shots. Like, look at the Jai Herbert fight. Now, Jai Herbert's chin isn't the greatest, but Trinaldo, I would say he was winning that fight to the point in the third round. I mean, because you barely give the first round to Trinaldo, I think, because of the takedown, and the second round you give it to Herbert. The third, Trinaldo lands in that third round. He's going to win the fight anyway, I do think. But, I mean, Trinaldo's he comes on late in his fights, and he is always able to land a takedown when he needs to. He's just one of those fighters that's always in a fight. And now, I think Danny Roberts is going to test the chin in this fight, though. Don't get me wrong, because Danny Roberts, a whole hell lot of power. You look at his win over Imediev. He barely beats Ramzan Emeev in his last fight, split decision. That fight could have gone either way, but Roberts throws hard. I mean, look at the Bobby Nash fight over in Glasgow, Scotland, excuse me. Roberts has got power. He's going to test the 43-year-old chin of Trinaldo here. And I think Trinaldo, he's going to have to stay out the way of these big shots by Danny Roberts. I think Trinaldo's, the pathway through takedown's definitely going to be there, because you saw Emeev go to that a couple times in his fight against Roberts. Even when Claudio Silva lost to Danny Roberts, he got subbed, but Claudio Silva, who isn't the greatest wrestler per se, he's good on the ground, but he was able to, go at Roberts and take him down a couple times in their fight. Same with David Zawada. Go all the way back to 2016 when Roberts lost to Dominic Steele. Guys are able to take down Danny Roberts, but the thing with Roberts is when he gets back to the feet, he does throw very hard, and at his limited spots, he is able to put away some of his opponents. It's just a matter of can Trinaldo mix it up enough. And I mean, the guy's been around for a while. I think Trinaldo knows, how to mix in the striking with going back to the takedowns after. It's hard to pick against the guy. I mean, let's be real. It's hard to pick against Trinaldo in this certain fight over Danny Roberts, because I think Danny Roberts doing this one is likely gonna have to knock him out, because I think Trinaldo will be there in the second and the third, and I think he will be able to turn it on late and steal a couple rounds. And I think if he has to, go back to the ground and work the takedowns, which I think is definitely going to be an open possibility for him in this Danny Roberts fight, because Roberts is susceptible to being taken down. So I think Trinaldo is going to be able to do that. I think on the feet, as long as he doesn't, get caught with a huge power shot by Roberts, he should be able to just outland his opponent. And I'm going with Francisco Trinaldo to win again. I mean, 17-7 in the UFC, minus 115 coming in this fight. I do like the 43-year-old in this one. Again, as long as he doesn't get caught, he's going to win the fight, I do think. So Trinaldo, through the wrestling, mixing up with the strikes, like him to win this one by unanimous decision. And it is the return of the former World Series fighting champion, of course, in Blagoy Ivanov, and he's taking on Marcos Rodrigues de Lima. For de Lima, 2 straight wins in the UFC. And now, the Maurice Green fight was terrible. That fight sucked. I don't want to rewatch it. I don't think anyone should rewatch that fight. But it's de Lima just being on top for 14 minutes. He doesn't really throw too many strikes. He's just kind of there. I mean, no significant strikes. I mean, he throws like just this really light, top ground and pound punches. De Lima wins. It's boring. It's terrible. Anyways, his fight after that against Ben Rothwell, he just comes in there and he just bum rushes Rothwell and puts him down. I mean, he finishes Rothwell in 30 seconds, and now Ben Rothwell's been cut. He's going to bare knuckle fighting, which is great, I guess. No, not really, but still, de Lima knocks out Rothwell early in that fight, because to that point, I wasn't that high on de Lima. I mean, I'm still really not, let's be real. But de Lima at heavyweight is interesting because he gets Von Flue by OSP in 2017, so that makes him go up to heavyweight. He puts on a lot of weight. He wins his first fight, UFC 230. He gets arm strangled by Stefan Struve, and that's always been where de Lima's been bad. It's been on the ground. I mean, he's been submitted a lot, and now Blagoy's got that too, don't get me wrong. And Blagoy might be able to take down de Lima and hold him down, which that's something we're going to talk about. But de Lima's 2 losses at heavyweight, and his only 2 losses, at heavyweight are Stefan Struve, where he got arm strangled. And it's bad when you get arm strangled by Stefan Struve. And then he gets finished by Alexander Romanov. Now, Romanov's the guy right now at heavyweight. I mean, that dude's good. Romanov is a monster, and I mean, hell, I don't know where the future is for Alexander Romanov beating Chase Sherman, but the guy should be in the top 15 very quickly. If he does get the Augusto Sakai fight, that fight, I'll just say, is not going to go well for Augusto Sakai. But de Lima's been submitted twice so far at heavyweight, and then he turns around beating Green and beating Rothwell. Now, Ivanov is a guy where we haven't seen in a while. His last fight was in Jacksonville, May of 2020, right coming off the pandemic. He loses a split decision to Augusto Sakai. Somewhere Sakai grabs the fence, stays on his feet, and wins him the fight. Fight could have gone other ways, a split decision win for Augusto Sakai. Before that, for Ivanov, he's got a fight against Derek Lewis where it's a split decision loss for Ivanov. It's a close one. He takes down Lewis 3 times, can't really hold him down there, but that's going to be something to keep an eye on this one. I think he will be able to take down de Lima. It's just a matter of can he lock in a submission and put away de Lima like Struve and like Romanov did against him. I don't know. Blagoy against Tai Tuivasa. He knocks down Tuivasa in that fight. He eats some shots from Tai Tuivasa as well in that one. He takes down Tuivasa. It's just an all-around good performance from Ivanov. He's able to outstrike Tuivasa. He's able to outchin Tuivasa, I guess. He's able just not to get knocked out by Bam Bam, and he's able to take him down too. That Rothwell fight, the stand-up fight. Honestly, I thought Rothwell might have won that one, but still give it to Ivanov. Then Ivanov's first fight in the UFC, it was just Junior Dos Santos kind of beating him to a pulp for 5 rounds. But that's something to think about with Ivanov. He doesn't get knocked out. This guy has got one hell of a chin. He's had some fights where he's eaten bombs from JDS, Ben Rothwell, Tai Tuivasa, and Derek Lewis, and he stayed on his feet for all those fights. Every fight that Ivanov has had so far in the UFC has gone decision. Now it's saying, okay, well, he hasn't knocked anybody out so far in the UFC, which is true. And do I think he's gonna be able to knock out De Lima? Probably not, because De Lima, he has got a solid chin in his own right. He gets submitted a lot. I mean, he got submitted by Antagulov. Kirilov submitted him to at light heavyweight. Same with OSP. And that's always something to keep an eye out on when you're looking at Ivanov, or we're looking at De Lima, and especially in this fight against Ivanov, where, Ivanov is able to get takedowns at times when he does need to. But it's obviously it's the Sambo background of Ivanov that does win him some fights. But, against De Lima here, I think he should be able to win. I think his striking is better than De Lima. Now he doesn't have the power De Lima's got. I think De Lima does throw hard, even though he hasn't knocked anybody out so far at heavyweight other than Ben Rothwell. Actually, no, he knocked out Sassoli too. So, I mean, he does have 2 knockouts at heavyweight in the UFC. I forgot about the Sassoli fight, honestly. But he's got power. I think Ivanov, though, I don't think he's going to get knocked out considering how good that guy's chin is. And I think Ivanov should be able to just outbox Lima for 3 rounds. I think he should be able to go to takedowns, too. Again, it's so hard to put away a guy like Blagoy Ivanov. I think he's going to beat Marcos Rodrigo de Lima. I think he gets it done by unanimous decision through the takedowns and through the boxing. Really excited for this fight, like I am every Brandon Royval fight, but we've got the raw dog in Brandon Royval taking on Matt Schnell. And for Royval, coming into the UFC after fighting in LFA, he was the LFA flyweight champion. Comes in, beats Tim Elliott his first UFC fight, then beats Kai Kara-France, which is a win that keeps looking better and better. And that fight was only 2 years ago. He submitted Kai Kara-France, one of the crazier fights at UFC 253. The fight's nuts. He wins it, and then he loses to Brandon Moreno, basically a number 1 contenders fight in his 3rd fight in the UFC. But Moreno beats him by TKO. He then turns into Alexandre Pantoja, who could be getting a title shot coming up. But Pantoja beats him by rear naked choke, and then he beats Bontorin in his last fight by split decision, barely edging out Bontorin. Bontorin was going to the well a million times in the takedowns, but Royval is just outstriking him. 8 minutes of control for Bontorin in that one. Still, though, Royval was the better striker in that one. Now he's taking on Matt Schnell, and Schnell is coming off that fight where he did lose to Bontorin. Now, I think that fight has been overturned since, but Bontorin wins it by unanimous decision. He's able to outstrike Matt Schnell. He went to the takedowns once in that fight, but it was just it was just Bontorin outstriking Schnell in that one and getting the victory. As for Schnell's fight before that, he beat Tyson Nam. Nam's not the greatest fighter in the world. He beats him by split decision. He loses to Alexandre Pantoja, where he gets knocked down in the first round, beats Jordan Espinosa, beats Louis Smoka, beats Inoue, the first 2 being by triangle choke. Schnell's not a bad wrestler. He's not bad when he gets to the ground, but I just think Royval is better everywhere. I mean, hell, I saw Bontorin outstrike him. I've seen Pantoja take him down. I've seen Bontorin take him down. How Marco Beltran took him down. Rob Font took him down too before he knocked him out. Hector Sandoval was able to go down to the well a million times against Schnell. I just think Royval is so much better in every single category in this fight. I don't think Schnell's horrible per se, but when Bontorin outstrikes you, Royval is 100% going to outstrike you. That's really all I got to say about this one. Again, Matt Schnell's not a horrible fighter, but Brandon Royval is seriously a top 5 fighter in this weight class. The guy's just taken on some of the toughest guys so far in the UFC in his run. I mean, you don't get a tougher 5 starts in the UFC than Tim Elliott, Kai Kara-France, Brandon Moreno, Alexandre Pantoja, and Rodrigo Bontorin. Those are tough 5 fights to start off with. He's good on the ground. His first 2 wins in the UFC were by submission. His win to win the LFA championship was by an armbar in the first round in 23 seconds. I mean, Schnell isn't bad on the ground, but I just think Royval is better there. I think he's better on the feet, too. I've seen Schnell get outstruck a million times in the UFC so far. Okay, I wouldn't go that far, but still, he's been outstruck by Bontorin, he's been outstruck by Pantoja, by Sandoval, by Font. He's been outstruck a lot in the UFC. I think Royval is able to do that. I think if we go to the ground, I think it is a closer fight. I think Schnell is better on the ground against Royval than he is on the feet, but still, I think Royval is better down there. All around, Brandon Royval is a better striker and a better fighter than Matt Schnell, and that's what's going to win him the fight. I like the raw dog to go in here and win by unanimous decision, keeping up his ride of momentum here so far in the UFC, improving to 4-2. A big fan of Brandon Royval too. This fight should be nuts because he does always throw a lot in his fights. Just again, go watch the Kai Kara-France fight, even go watch the Tim Elliott fight. Royval is always in fun fights. He's going to beat Matt Schnell. He'll get it done by unanimous decision. So they just keep giving Norma Dumont fighters a fight at 145. she's taken on Macy Chiasson. Now, Chiasson's last fight was at 145 as well. She loses to Raquel Pennington. Rocky gets her, she submits her in the second round with a standing guillotine choke, but to that point in that fight, it was Pennington outstriking Chiasson, and it was Rocky winning the fight. Now, she's taken on Norma Dumont, is Macy Chiasson in this one, and Dumont is coming off a main event win over Aspen Ladd. The fight wasn't all that great, but it is Norma Dumont basically just outstriking Ladd. Ladd is able to go to the well a couple times with the takedowns, especially late in that fight in the fifth, but to that point in the fifth round, the fight was already over. Dumont had already banked, hell, 4, some could say 3 rounds in that one, already beating Aspen Ladd. Now, Dumont's fight before that, she beats Felicia Spencer. She's the underdog in that fight, beats Felicia Spencer by split decision. It's a close fight, it's a competitive fight, but Dumont is able to outstrike Spencer, which honestly isn't that hard to do. Dumont before that beats Ashley Evans Smith. She beats her by unanimous decision. That was a fight, though, at bantamweight where Dumont did miss weight, but she still won it by unanimous decision. Before that, got knocked out by Megan Anderson. Megan Anderson is not horrible. I think if she still was at 145, I mean, she would probably be in the spot that Dumont's at right now, fighting all these contenders that you're getting to, move up to 145, take her on. Well, I guess you're waiting for a Norma Dumont and Amanda Nunes fight eventually. Are we? Maybe? I don't know. But, so that's where we're at with Norma Dumont. Her striking isn't the greatest, but it's enough to get the job done in her last couple fights against, let's be real, Felicia Spencer and Aspen Ladd, who are 2 fighters that don't have the best striking. That's just, we're just being honest here. But Macy Chiasson, again, she got outstruck by Pennington. Well, she got struck by Dumont. I don't know. I mean, will Dumont be able to go to the ground? Possibly. If you look at Chiasson's fighting against Marion Renault, it's just a fight that happened against Marion Renault. She outstrikes Renault for 3 rounds. She beats Shanna Young, and she takes down Young when she had to. That fight's not all that competitive as well, because Shanna Young isn't all that great, but she beat Gina Mazzani. Okay. Chiasson loses to Lena Landsberg, and that's a fight that, if you look at this fight, if you're looking at it from Dumont's perspective, it's a fight that's got to, encourage you a lot here, because Landsberg is able to take down Chiasson, hold her down for 7 minutes. Landsberg, is competitive on the feet with Macy as well. It's probably if Norma Dumont's going to win this fight, which she's a favorite to do so, it's going to look a lot like the Lena Landsberg fight. She's going to get into Macy Chiasson's face. She's going to close distance. She's going to take her down. She's going to try to hold her down, and that's how Dumont's probably going to win this one. I mean, honestly. I don't know if the takedowns, especially going to be in play as much as we think it's going to be, but I think it will be on the feet. I think it will be Dumont mixing it up, getting into Chiasson's face, because obviously Chiasson's going to have the reach advantage in this. But if Dumont again can close the distance, close the gap, she will be able to have a lot of success. I do think so in this one. And then you look at Chiasson's fight against Gina Mazzani. She knocks her out in the first round, and then the Panikian Zed fight, she subs her in the second, winning the Ultimate Fighter. Anyways, though, I think Norma Dumont's going to win. I think she's better than Macy Chiasson on the feet. I think she's better. I know Chiasson, gonna have a lot more range in this fight. She's gonna have a longer reach. But again, if Dumont can crash distance, I think that's gonna play a lot to her advantage this one. If she can clinch up with Chiasson a lot, just make it an ugly fight and make it kind of boring, I think that's how Dumont is going to win. Kind of like what she did against Felicia Spencer and somewhat what she did against Aspen Ladd. I don't think it's going to be the most entertaining, but there's a reason Norma Dumont's a minus 240 favorite in this one. She's a very good fighter, especially at 145. This is definitely her weight class. She's good up here. And yeah, I like Norma Dumont to beat Macy Chiasson. I think she stays, she keeps her winning streak at 145 going, like Norma Dumont to win this one by unanimous decision. I mean, there's a reason this one's the featured prelim. It's the Rude Boy Randy Brown taking on Chaos Williams. This one, it should be pure, I mean, no pun intended, chaos. This is going to be nuts, because Chaos Williams is a heavy thrower, especially right now at 170. You saw his fight against Miguel Baeza, sent him flying, beating him in the third round by KO. You saw the huge knockout that stiffed Abdulrazak Al-Hassan like a board. You saw the knockout of Alex Morono. The guy's really good, Chaos Williams. So Randy Brown's going to offer a lot to Chaos Williams too in this fight, which should be interesting. I think he's going to test the ground game for Chaos Williams, definitely. Because Williams hasn't really been tested on the ground so far. I know Pahea took him down a couple times, but really couldn't keep him down there. I think Brown will look for at least one takedown in this fight, because you've seen, he submit Alex Oliveira, given that was a standing rear naked choke, but he subbed Worley Alves. The Rude by Randy Brown has some, ways to go on the ground in this fight against Chaos Williams, definitely. Unlike Abdulrazak Al-Hassan or Semmelsberger or Baeza, who really isn't, those guys aren't going to challenge Williams on the ground. We really haven't seen Williams' takedown defense all that much so far, so I think it will make for an interesting fight. But what also makes it interesting is that Rude Boy Randy Brown has got some very good striking too. Look at the Jared Gooden fight. I know Gooden's not in the UFC anymore, but he's 2-0 now, 2-0 now outside the promotion, winning on XMMA and in Icon FC, the Masvidal promotion over there in Florida. So he's 2-0 since leaving the promotion. It's not a horrible win. I mean, he beats Worley Alves by subbing him. Alex Oliveira subs him as well. The good fight against Brian Barberena is crazy in South Carolina. He KOs him in the third round. Randy Brown's got a really good pace in the feet. You look at the Mickey Gall fight, he just basically torches Mickey Gall. Gall can't get going. I mean, that's what Randy Brown's going to do to you. He's going to bring the volume, and eventually he might finish you late in the fight. Now, he has been knocked out a couple times in the UFC. You look at the Nico Price fight where he got knocked down in the second round, and Vicente Luque most notably put him away in the Apex on the Brunson Shabazian card in August of 2020. A little bit concerning because Chaos Williams throws harder than both those guys, and I like Luque a lot, and I like Price a lot, but Williams has got power that even those two guys don't have. I mean, again, just look how he stiffed Abdulrazak Alhassan. The guy is really good. So if he's able to touch Randy Brown, which obviously I think he's going to at least a couple times in this one, I mean, it's going to make for a whole lot of trouble for the rude boy in Randy Brown. We're going to see, though, because, again, Brown's going to bring the volume, and for Williams, obviously, he's going to try to hit him with that one big shot, putting him away, but we have seen Williams go in there, like the Semmelsberger fight. I mean, hell, we saw him go there 3 rounds, just out-volume Semmelsberger, didn't necessarily put him away, didn't necessarily throw the hardest he could possibly thrown, but you saw him put it on Semmelsberger with 91 significant strikes, for Semmelsberger 64 coming back on the other side. I mean, I think Williams has got multiple plays doing this one. I think for the decision, for the knockout too. Obviously, Randy Brown might be able to outstrike Williams too, just because I think he's quicker than Williams, but I don't see it happening. And definitely through the ground, Brown could have the advantage down there. All that taking all that into account, though, I like Chaos Williams to go in there. I think he will be able to touch in the chin of Brown. I think he's gonna be able to pull him away. Got Chaos Williams to knock out Randy Brown in the first round. I think he comes out there and stiffs him, kind of like what he did Abdulrazak Alhassan, not in that fashion where he just one punch put him away, but I think it will be. I think it will more be like the Morono fight. It's a blitz, puts him down. Chaos Williams first round knockout. Here we go, main card time in the opener. It is Donald Cowboy Cerrone fighting Joe Lauzon in the year of 2022. My goodness, this is really happening? Okay, it is. Joe Lauzon has not been around in a while. His last fight was in October 2019 where he beats Jonathan Pierce. He beats JSP, takes him down, ground and pound. He's got at the back and he finishes him. It's on Reyes Weidman in Boston. You think it's Joe Lauzon's final ever fight, but nope, apparently he's back and he's taking on Cowboy. Now, I think this fight favors Cowboy a lot because what we've seen recently out of Cowboy Cerrone is that his chin has not been good. It has not held up in any of his fights. You see the Morono fight where he gets knocked down in the first round. Pettis, okay, just gets beats to the punch, but I still think he beats Pettis in that fight. Go watch the fight. UFC 249. Tell me that Cowboy doesn't beat Pettis there. I think he wins that. Connor, obviously, McGregor knocked him out. Gaethje knocked him out. El Kukui beats him in the second, even though I thought Cowboy in the first, Tony won the second. I mean, Tony was likely on his way to winning the second 2 rounds, but still, not a horrible fight out of Cowboy. And you look at that, before that for Cowboy, when he's going on his little run at 155, where you thought, oh, maybe he's going to make a run of the title. He beats Alexander Hernandez, he beats Raging Al in that main event, and then, of course, he gets El Kukui and loses, and he hasn't been the same since. But I don't think Joe Lauzon's got the one-punch knockout power that's going to be able to put away Cowboy, like what we've seen at Cowboy's last couple of fights with the Gaethje, with Connor, and with Morono. It's not like Lauzon is now at 37 years old. He doesn't have that power. He's never really had the one punch knockout power. It's just that's not been Lauzon's thing. And honestly, Joe Lauzon's been the guy who he always gets into these fun fights. It's always a war on the feet, which I think this could be the case in this one. But I just don't think he's gonna have the knockout power to put away Cowboy. At least he's gonna have to build to it. But if Lauzon's gonna be able to hit, this is what the point I'm trying to make. If Lauzon's gonna knock out Cowboy, he's gonna get hit so many times, I think. Because I think Lauzon's going to crash in, but if he's going to be able to hit Cowboy as many times as he's going to have to win this fight, Cowboy's going to be able to hit him a lot. And I think before Lauzon's going to have enough volume to put away Cowboy Cerrone's going to be able to finish Joe Lauzon. Right? And now, I don't know if that's going to be entirely the case, but I'm just saying through the pathway of Joe Lauzon winning this fight by knockout, I think if he's going to try to knock out Cowboy, Cowboy's going to knock him out first. Now, I'm not saying there's going to be a finish in this fight. It could be, don't get me wrong, because Lauzon has been finished, 6 times in his career. He got finished by Clay Guida a couple years ago in 2017. Chris Gritzmacher, who's not great, finished Lauzon in the corner, said that's enough of that one. So, I mean, on the ground, Cowboy, I think, has got a slight advantage, even though Lauzon's wrestling and jiu-jitsu has always been good. But Joe Lauzon, even when both these guys were in their primes, Joe Lauzon was never on the level of Donald Cowboy Cerrone, and that's why this fight hasn't happened before, because both these guys have been around for so long, but Cowboy's always just been better than Joe Lauzon in every point of these two's careers. He's always been better than Lauzon. Who's to say that, this fight's going to be any different? Because I don't think it's going to be. I don't think this fight with Lauzon and Cowboy's going to be any different than if they matched up at any other point in their career, because I just think Cowboy's better than him. I still think he's better than Joe Lauzon, even though we haven't seen Lauzon in 3 years. I don't know how much better Joe's gotten. And I know Cowboy's looked like a shell of himself recently, but I just think he's still better. There's a reason they haven't fought before. Cowboy on the ground is superior than Joe Lauzon. On the feet, he's got more power than Joe Lauzon. He's all around a better striker than Joe Lauzon. I think he wins. Again, Lauzon's always in a competitive fight. He'll always win the fight of the night. This might win fight of the night. It'll get the crowd excited. But I think Cowboy's going to be able to beat Joe Lauzon. It's a matter of does he finish him or does he win by decision. I like Cowboy by decision. I just don't know at this point in Cowboy's career, can he put away a guy like Lauzon who, again, his chin's not the greatest, but does he have the knockout power to still put away Lauzon? Potentially, I'm going to go safe pick Donald Cowboy Cerrone to get back in the win column, beating Joe Lauzon by unanimous decision. If Cowboy doesn't want to keep fighting, which I think he probably will if he beats Lauzon, just give him, again, some of these like Legends fights. Have him fight Nick Diaz, something like that. Again, and this fight is at 155, and Cowboy, even though he does look like he's going to die on the scales at 55, he is a better fighter down there. I do personally think so. Obviously, the results have shown that compared to him at 170. So I think Donald Cowboy Cerrone at 155 should be able to beat Joe Lauzon. As long as Lauzon doesn't, somehow find the chin, I like Cowboy to win this one. He gets it done by decision. Oh my goodness, this fight's happening too. Ovince St. Preux, Shogun Rua. OSP's older than Shogun, right? Okay, no. Shogun's 1 year older than OSP, but like they're about the same age. Shogun is 40 and St. Preux is 39. I mean, St. Preux's gonna turn 40 the day after the fight, I think. Yeah, he turns 49, or he turns 40, excuse me, on April 8th. So, actually, no, it's May now. Oh, never mind. Forgot what I just said. Anyways, I got my months confused. Anyways, OSP and Shogun Rua. Okay, this is weird because Shogun isn't very good at this point in his career. He was a shell of himself in the Paul Craig fight. Even when he beat Lil Nog, he wasn't very good, and Lil Nog isn't very good either. But Shogun barely beats him. It's kind of sad seeing these two legends fight like that. But anyways, OSP is a shell of himself too. He's not very good at this point of his career either. I mean, he gets knocked up by Tanner Boser in his last fight. Jamal Hill knocks him out, which, looking back at it, it's not a horrible loss because Jamal Hill is really good. He beats Alonzo Metafield, and that's if you have any hope for Ovince St. Preux in this fight, which I think you should because Shogun is Shogun at this point. I think it's coming from that. It's the Alonzo Metafield fight because he is still able to counter Metafield. Metafield throws over the top. OSP counters him with a huge left, puts him down on the Overeem Sakai fight card. That's probably, the best, and that's the best OSP we're going to see in a potential fight with Shogun Rua, right? That is what we want to see out of OSP in this one. He still does have the power to put away Rua. How does Rua beat OSP? Honestly, I don't know. I don't know how he beats OSP. Because he hasn't won a fight since 2018, he beat Lil Nog, but he hasn't finished anyone since Tyson Pedro in 2018, which kind of proved it to be a kind of a levels fight, because who was going on that little run, up to that point. He lost to Anthony Smith, but he beat Nogueira, he beat Anderson, beat Villante, and then he lost to Smith and then beat Pedro, and then he ran into Paul Craig at the draw, then beat Nogueira, and then lost to Paul Craig most recently, where he just looked freaking horrible, dude. It's another thing. Rua's chin, I don't think is there anymore. I mean, he's been knocked out 6 times. I think if OSP touches him once, he'll probably go down. I think it's going to be a quick night in the office. I think Ovince St. Preux first round knockout here, because again, OSP's not great, but Shogun doesn't have the power to put away St. Preux on the feet like a guy like Jamal Hill did or like Tanner Boser did. Hell, even OSP might be able to drag this one to the ground, submit Shogun, even though Shogun, isn't horrible on the ground. Even like Chiasson subbed him when you think about it, but yeah, I like Ovince St. Preux. It's kind of sad to see Shogun at this point in his career still fighting. I'm glad he ducked and he dodged the Jaiton Almeida fight. I'm glad it's not happening and Almeida is fighting Parker Porter instead, which is good. I'm glad Rua's not having that fight. Still though, OSP at this point of his career, even though he's only 1 year younger than Rua, he's still got a little bit more left in the tank than Shogun does. He's still got power to put away a guy like Shogun. Ovince St. Preux wins this fight, defeats the former champion. OSP first round knockout gets it done in the second fight of the main card. If y'all thought Tony Ferguson versus Justin Gaethje was bad, if y'all thought Tony Ferguson versus Charles Oliveira was bad, if you thought that Tony Ferguson versus Beneil Dariush was bad, just wait until what Michael Chandler does to Tony Ferguson. This isn't going to be pretty, boys. I mean, this is not going to be good. This is going to be ugly. This is going to be the brutal knockout that, hate to say it, I think does it for the career of Tony Ferguson. I don't think this is all that competitive. I think Michael Chandler first round knockout. I said it right now, and now I'll tell you why. Michael Chandler, I don't know how he loses to Tony Ferguson. I don't know how. The Michael Chandler that lost to Justin Gaethje, that is maybe as good as Michael Chandler could have looked in a loss, because it showed you this. Michael Chandler can take a damn punch, and I know that was something that we were skeptical of going into that fight against Gaethje. Was, well, okay, Charles Oliveira knocked him out, Pitbull put him down. I mean, he's been knocked out before. Will Brooks has put him down. That's what we were concerned about with Michael Chandler. He's been knocked out 4 times in his career, even though the Brent Primus loss was by doctor stoppage. Anyways, though, we have seen Chandler get knocked out before. He ate shots from Justin Gaethje for 15 minutes. He walked into Justin Gaethje's shots with his hands down, walked into him, told him to hit him harder, and he stayed on his feet. And Justin Gaethje throws harder than any other fighter at 155, other than maybe Michael Chandler. And that's a problem for Tony Ferguson. because Tony Ferguson has accumulated a lot of damage the last couple of fights. It's especially from the Gaethje fight, though, because he doesn't really take too much damage in the Dariush fight. It's Dariush kind of laying on him and keeping top control, which is something that, by the way, Michael Chandler, if he has to, if Tony Ferguson is winning this fight on the feet, if Tony Ferguson is using the elbows, if it's the classic El Kukui that's cutting him up on the feet, if that is something that Ferguson is doing, then Michael Chandler can go to the ground, and then he can take him down, he can hold him down there. That is plan B for Michael Chandler. If the striking doesn't go the way you think it's going to go, and if Chandler can't knock him out in the first round, then he can always go to that, and that will always be there for Michael Chandler. That's why I'm so confident in Chandler, because, okay, Chandler can go to that, he can knock him out in the first round, he can wrestle with him. Can Tony Ferguson knock out Michael Chandler? No, he cannot. I don't think Tony Ferguson's going to be able to put away Michael Chandler, even though Chandler, did get touched by Oliveira, and that was the perfect shot by Oliveira, but Tony Ferguson doesn't have that one punch knockout power that Justin Gaethje's got, and Gaethje couldn't even put away Chandler. Right? I don't think El Kukui's gonna be able to do that. And again, Ferguson throughout the entire course of his career hasn't been that guy that's been able just to put away his opponent in one shot. I mean, when he beat Cowboy, it was a doctor stoppage. When he beat Pettis, it was a doctor stoppage. He doesn't have a real knockout since what? I mean, it's been a while, since like 2014. It's been all by submission with the Darces and the rear naked chokes and all that. Is he going to be able to sub Michael Chandler? No, because I don't think he's going to be able to get this fight on the ground. Tony Ferguson's not going to take down Michael Chandler. I mean, yeah, he might be able to get him with the Imanari, but the odds that are very low. So he's not going to be able to take down Chandler, because Chandler's going to be able to dictate where this fight's going to be. So Chandler's going to be able to take him down. Chandler's going to be able to box with him. I just think all around this is all Michael Chandler. I think, and I don't even think he's going to go to the takedowns. I think Chandler's going to knock him out in the first round, because I just think that's all the power that Chandler's got. I just think Ferguson's over the hill, and it sucks because Tony Ferguson, he was the guy for a while. I mean, he hadn't lost in what, 7 years? And now here we are, he's 38 years old. Michael Chandler's what, 36? Yeah, he's 36. Chandler's got so much more left in the tank. Michael Chandler can still make a title run. And I make the case that if Chandler wins this fight and Justin Gaethje wins his fight, that's the fight they're going to make next. They're going to do the rematch in a 5-round fight, because they're going to go make Mahasha fight Dariush, and the winner of those two fights will fight. Like, if Chandler knocks out Tony Ferguson in the first round, there's a definite chance he gets a title shot after this, especially if it's Justin Gaethje is the winner of the main event. I like Michael Chandler to win this fight. He's going to knock out Tony Ferguson in the first round, because I just don't know how Ferguson wins. And the Tony fans are going to be out there. I see the Ferguson fans on Twitter, oh, he's going to cut up Chandler, he's going to get to him, he's going to do what he did to Pettis, he's going to do what he did to Cowboy. We have not seen that Tony Ferguson in 3 years, the guy that beat Donald Cowboy Cerrone. I've seen Michael Chandler go in there, I've seen him melt Dan Hooker, I saw him go in there, I see him dominate Benson Henderson, I've seen him, stand there with Justin Gaethje. He was a couple punches away from beating Charles Oliveira and becoming the world champion. Michael Chandler is still elite in this weight class, Tony Ferguson simply is not. Chandler's going to knock him out in the first round. If he doesn't, and if Chandler is somehow losing on the feet against Tony Ferguson, there's always a backup plan, and it's the wrestling, University of Missouri wrestling on Michael Chandler. If he has to, he can take down Ferguson. He can keep him down there, like what Beneil Dariush did to him, and like what Charles Oliveira did to him. And then he can work his ground pound. He might be able to finish him on the ground. I just think there's so many ways Michael Chandler can win this fight. I don't see a world where Tony Ferguson puts away Michael Chandler. I don't see a world where Tony Ferguson beats Michael Chandler, because I don't know how he beats him. The only way he wins is if he catches him in a submission. That's the only way Ferguson wins. Other than that, Michael Chandler has got all of his bases covered. I like Iron Michael Chandler to beat Tony Ferguson. First round knockout. Then he gets it done. Waits for the winner of maybe Gaethje Oliveira, goes to something else. Maybe Conor McGregor's in the wings. I don't know. But Michael Chandler beats Tony in the first round by knockout. Only title fights from here on out. We have got Thug Rose Namajunas taking on Carla Esparza. Again, the rematch of the first ever strawweight championship fight, which Carla Esparza won. And it's been a long road back to championship for Carla, because she wins the title against Namajunas. And after that, she turns that into a loss to Joanna Jędrzejczyk immediately. It's like 4 months later, she gets absolutely dominated in that fight. It's not competitive. Carla lands like 4 whole shots in that entire fight. It's just not a close fight. And she has her setbacks throughout the course of her career. She gets beat by Brandon Marcos. I mean, Claudia Gadelha beats her in a fight where Esparza probably won. The Tatiana Suarez fight is one of the most dominant women's performances of all time in the UFC. Tatiana Suarez dominates Carla Esparza, and from there on out, you're thinking, Esparza's probably never getting back to the belt, let alone the top 5. Well, then she beats Vina Jandiroba, she beats Alexa Grasso, she beats Michelle Waterson, she beats Marina Rodrigues, she beats Yan Xiaonan, and especially the Yan Xiaonan fight was so incredible because she finishes Yan in that fight, and Yan was a favorite in that one. She goes in there, she takes down Yan Xiaonan, crucifix, elbows, fight over. Carla Esparza is the #1 contender to Rose Namajunas. And you know what Carla's going to do. Carla's not going to strike with Rose Namajunas. She's always looking for a takedown. And now will it be just like the first fight between Namajunas and Esparza? I don't think so, because I rewatched that fight today. Forgot how sloppy that fight was. Given it was 8 years ago in 2014, but it's a sloppy fight. Namajunas is just, winging kicks out there. She's throwing spinning back fists and all that. And Esparza is just kind of shooting for takedowns from 5 feet out, and sometimes she's landing them. I don't think the fight's going to end. It's not going to be like that fight, this one on Saturday night, but I do think it has a lot of similarities because you look at Rose Namajunas, and don't get me wrong, Namajunas is a tremendous striker, and I'm not debating any of that. I'm not debating that Namajunas, isn't going to be able to strike Esparza because she's going to, right? Namajunas is going to be able to, if she can keep the fight standing, she's going to win no matter what. Rose Namajunas, no chance in hell loses a striking fight to Carla Esparza. But I think Carla Esparza is going to have a definite chance of the takedowns. If Zhang Weili is able to take down Rose Namajunas 5 times, Carla Esparza can 100% take down Rose Namajunas in every single round of this fight. 110,000%. And the problem that Zhang Weili had once she took down Rose Namajunas is that she couldn't keep her down there. Carla Esparza is going to be able to keep Rose Namajunas down. I very believe that. And unless Namajunas is able to, put a lot of pressure on Carla Esparza in the first round on the feet and damage Esparza, I think it's going to be a tough fight for Rose Namajunas. Now, I think this fight's solely dependent on the first round, how the first round does end up. If Namajunas in the first round is able to stuff takedowns from Esparza, keep it standing, and just put the pressure on Esparza and damage her and really just work on her in the first round, I think Namajunas is probably going to win the fight. But if that doesn't happen, and even if Namajunas takes the first round off and she still wins it barely on the feet, but she doesn't do much damage, and Esparza still can't land a takedown, I think it's a huge difference than if Namajunas really puts it all on her in the first. Because I think it's all dependent on how Esparza starts this fight. It's all dependent on it. Because I think Esparza's got a very clear path to victory in this one. Again, when you look at Zhang Weili taking down Namajunas 5 times, who's to say Esparza can't either? And I know Namajunas landed her takedowns of her own in that fight. That's not going to matter because she's not going to look to take down Carla Esparza. She's not going to try to take down Carla Esparza. Why would she? Because Namajunas has got a clear advantage on the feet. But on the ground, the clear advantage, I think, goes to Carla Esparza. I think if there's one thing that hasn't changed from their first fight in 2014 is that Carla Esparza is still definitely the superior grappler, and if she can't get the fight on the ground, it is trouble for Namajunas because I don't know if Namajunas is going to be able to work back up. And again, I keep looking at the Zhang Weili fight. Carla Esparza is a better wrestler than Zhang Weili is. I mean, you're hard-pressed to find a better grappler, a better wrestler, at 115 than Carla Esparza. I mean, you're looking at Tatiana Suarez, if Suarez can ever come back and fight again, right? I mean, I'm making all these points, and it makes it hard to pick Rose Namajunas in this fight. And I picked Namajunas to beat Zhang Weili twice. And I picked her to beat Jessica Andrade. I picked Rose Namajunas basically in every fight she's been in since she won the championship against Joanna. I'm picking Carla Esparza to win this fight. I think she gets it done by decision. I said it. I think Carla Esparza wins. I think she's able to take down Rose Namajunas. And I think she's able to find a way to win at least 3 rounds. I think she might win more. Again, I keep going back to Zhang Weili taking down Rose Namajunas. If she's able to do it, Carla's able to do it as well. Yeah, Rose, and maybe Rose keeps finding the feet. If she does, she'll win. Maybe Rose puts away Carla. She lands a big head kick like she did against Zhang Weili their first fight. Maybe that happens. Sure, maybe it will. But I'm gonna take the latter. I'm gonna say Carla Esparza wins this fight, and I think Carla Esparza takes her down and keeps her down. I'm going and new here. Carla Esparza reclaims the championship. The first ever strawweight champion becomes the current champion. I think she's able to go down to the takedowns. I think she's able to keep Rose Namajunas down there. I don't know if she's going to finish her like she did against Yan Xiaonan, but I think Carla Esparza does what she does best. It might be a close fight like the Marina Rodrigues fight was, like the Alexa Grasso fight was. But I think Esparza is able to go to the takedowns. I think she's going to be able to get the takedowns. It's just all a matter if she can keep Rose down there. And I'm under the belief that she can. Carla Esparza and new world champion. She beats Rose Namajunas by unanimous decision. All right, main event time for the lightweight championship. Charles Oliveira, Justin Gaethje. Oh my goodness, here we go. I mean, Gaethje gets the title shot after, personally, probably my favorite fight of all time, Justin Gaethje and Michael Chandler. That fight was crazy. I mean, I rewatched that fight at least once a week. That fight's nuts, man. I absolutely love that fight. Can Gaethje be the guy to put away Oliveira? I mean, we've seen Oliveira in trouble in both the first rounds of his first 2 title fights. Will Gaethje finally be the guy to do it? It's that simple. Because if Oliveira does get this fight on the ground, he'll win. If Justin Gaethje is able to keep this fight on the feet, he'll win. It's that simple. It is the exact mix of styles, clash of styles that you look for in a fight. Like when we say this fight's a clash of styles, it's literally this fight between Gaethje and Oliveira, but it's got some twist into it. It's got some twist, and we're going to get to that in a little bit. I will come back to this point in a second. Real quick, though, just looking at Gaethje's last couple of fights, I mean, there's not much to say. He's got all the knockout power in the world. It's Justin Gaethje, right? He wasn't able to put away Chandler, which is crazy to me. I thought if he was going to beat Chandler, he was going to knock him out in the first round, but he puts away Ferguson in the 5th, but it's a dominant striking performance. He knocks out Cowboy, knocks out Barbosa, knocks out Vic, finishes Johnson in the 2nd round. He does have those 2 fights against Eddie Alvarez and Dustin Poirier, but that was a different Justin Gaethje. And every time I talk about Gaethje, this is the case. Since Gaethje lost to Poirier, because the Gaethje that was in World Series of Fighting, the Gaethje that came into the UFC's first 3 fights was the crazy Justin Gaethje that I'm going to get into a war every single time, I'm going to throw everything I got early, and we're just going to go to war. Someone's going to die first. Since that fight against Poirier, he's taken a measured approach, he's sat back on his strikes, and he hasn't gone for it. He hasn't gone crazy in all of his fights like he's done in those 3. Now, we kind of saw the original Justin Gaethje in the Michael Chandler fight, but still, that was a more patient Gaethje that was waiting and picked his shots more, unlike he did against Johnson, where he just gassed and eventually he won. He was just trying to out-tire his opponents in those first 3 fights. It worked once, it didn't in the other 2. But the James Vick fight, he waited, he knocked him out in the first. Edson Barbosa, he caught him with the huge right one, fight of the night, and the fight only went 2 minutes. He beat Donald, Cowboy Cerrone in the first round in 4 minutes. He beat El Kakui. That's the new measured approach that Justin Gaethje has taken. Charles "Do Bronx" Oliveira. The guy is good. I mean, he's gone in his title run. He hasn't lost since, 2017, where Paul Felder knocked him out. I mean, you look at the title run, especially the Kevin Lee fight, subs him in the 3rd round with the guillotine. He beats Tony Ferguson by holding him down there, and his last 2 fights have been his best fights of his career. Michael Chandler almost gets knocked down the first round, not once, but twice. Chandler almost puts him down twice. And Oliveira stays in the fight, he survives. Chandler follows him to guard, and that's something, and same with Dustin Poirier. Poirier follows him to guard as well. That is something that Justin Gaethje will not do. If Justin Gaethje knocks down Charles Oliveira, which I think is incredibly likely, and I think that's something that's going to happen, Justin Gaethje is going to knock down Charles Oliveira in this fight. Justin Gaethje is not going to go to the ground with him. He's not going to enter the guard like Poirier did. He's not going to enter the guard like Chandler did and try to finish with the ground and pound. Once Justin Gaethje knocks down Charles Oliveira, he's going to point at him, he's going to tell him to get back up, and we're going to do it over again. That's what Justin Gaethje is going to do. He's going to have to knock him out like it's boxing, where he's going to, every time Oliveira goes down, he's going to want him right back up, and he's going to try to finish him on the feet. Justin Gaethje will not engage in a ground fight with Charles Oliveira like the other 2 did in Oliveira's first 2 title fights. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Because if Oliveira gets Gaethje down, it's trouble. It is trouble. And I think there's still question marks about the grappling of Justin Gaethje. I'll talk about, and even the wrestling, I think there's still question marks around Gaethje's game. Because you just don't know what it is. Because we were all going to the Khabib Nurmagomedov fight, and at least I did. And I think a lot of people picked Gaethje, a lot of people picked Khabib, obviously. It was one of the closer odds-wise fights Khabib has had. It was with Gaethje, because all the hype that he had around beating Tony Ferguson, and because of the, Northern Colorado wrestling and all of that, right? All of the Gaethje background in college wrestling. We just didn't know how good the wrestling game of Justin Gaethje was. We just didn't know. A lot of people thought that he was going to be able to stuff the takedowns of Khabib, me included, and I thought he was going to be able to keep the fight standing. But once Khabib got Gaethje to the ground, it was trouble. He subbed him pretty quickly. He locked in the triangle choke, he submitted him. Was that Khabib's very good and Khabib's the greatest of all time? Or is that Justin Gaethje just really doesn't have all that great jiu-jitsu? And is Justin Gaethje's grappling not that great? We do not know. But what we do know is that Gaethje's defensive wrestling is still solid. I think it is decent. The Michael Chandler fight showed that. Chandler went 1 for 6 on his takedowns, and Michael Chandler's a tremendous wrestler. If Michael Chandler is having problems taking down Justin Gaethje, Charles Oliveira is going to have trouble taking down Justin Gaethje as well. I don't think straight up takedowns wise, Charles Oliveira is going to be able to take down Gaethje. He's going to have to climb the back or something like he did against Poirier and climb the back against the fence. He's going to have to do something like that to get onto Gaethje's back or to take Gaethje down. I don't think straight up double leg, single leg, any of that, he's not going to be able to do any of that against Gaethje. He's not going to be able to shoot for a takedown and land because I think Gaethje's going to be able to get out of the way. He's going to have to clinch with Gaethje. He's going to have to try to take his back while standing or do something like that because pure takedowns wise, Gaethje should be able to fight them off, which I think is concerning for Oliveira. Because I don't think Oliveira is going to put away Gaethje. Because something that Gaethje does also have is a very good chin. He ate some bombs from Michael Chandler and he stayed in the fight. Michael Chandler hit him very hard and he stayed in it. Something a lot of guys don't do when they get hit hard by Michael Chandler. So I don't think Oliveira is going to be able to put him down on the ground, down on the feet. It's just all a matter if Oliveira can find one way to get the fight to the ground. Because I think if he finds one way to get the fight to the ground, he'll be able to submit Justin Gaethje. But it's just all a matter of Gaethje can keep this one standing. Also, Gaethje's leg kicks are going to come into play in this one. I mean, maybe is Oliveira going to be able to catch a leg kick? Because, Gaethje throws so many of them. Is he going to be able to catch one and bring him down? Maybe that's the case. I don't think it's going to happen, but, you always got to think about it, right? You always got to think about maybe that does happen or not. I mean, man, it's a good fight. Will Justin Gaethje be able to put away Charles Oliveira in the first round, something that Poirier and Chandler weren't able to do? That is the question. Is Gaethje going to be the guy? Is Oliveira? Because eventually, man, if Oliveira keeps getting rocked in the first round, eventually it's going to catch up to him, and eventually someone's going to be able to be the guy to finish him and knock him out. And that guy's Justin Gaethje. Justin Gaethje is going to win the world championship. He's going to knock him out in the first round. I think the first round is going to haunt Charles Oliveira again. I think Gaethje's going to come after him. I think he's going to knock him down multiple times in this first round, but he's not going to be like Chandler and follow him into the guard. It's not going to happen. Gaethje's going to knock him down, and he's going to tell him to get right back up, and he's going to do it again. I don't think Oliveira's gonna be able to find a way to get this one on the ground. I just don't think he's gonna be able to find a way. I think Gaethje's gonna be able to fight off the takedowns. I think Gaethje's takedown. I'm gonna back the takedown defense of Justin Gaethje again, like I did when he fought Habib. I'm going to bank on it. I think Gaethje's gonna be able to keep this one on the feet. I like him at plus money, plus 145 for Justin. And new world champion, he knocks out Charles Oliveira in the first round. He knocks him down once, tells him to get back up, does it again, get it back up, and then he does it again and eventually knocks him out. He actually knocks him out, puts him away. And new champion of the world, Justin Gaethje, wins the championship. Who knows who he fights next? Will it be Michael Chandler? Will it be Islam Makhachev? Will it be Alexander Volkanovski even? I don't know, but I'm taking the highlight Justin Gaethje to finally be that guy to knock out Charles Oliveira in the first round, because eventually it's going to catch up to Charles. You know it's going to. It's eventually going to catch up to him. I think Gaethje's going to be the guy to do it. Justin Gaethje and new world champion. He keeps the fight standing and he wins it that way. Gaethje first round knockout. He gets the job done in the main event. And folks, thank you all for watching our UFC 274 preview and predictions here on the channel. If you haven't yet, make sure that subscribe button down below for more as we do one of these UFC cards every single week. Next week, Jan Blachowicz, Alexander Rakic, back in the UFC Apex. But anyways, that's coming out next week. Tomorrow, PFL Week 3 predictions. Kayla Harrison in the main event. Not Paul Felder. Anthony Pettis on the card as well. And Rory McDonald. And also on Bellator main event in Paris, we have got Czech Congo versus Ryan Bader for the Bellator Heavyweight Championship. And also, Alex Easy Polizzi steps in on short notice to take on Yoel Romero. So be on the lookout for those videos tomorrow. Thank you all for watching, folks. Make sure to leave a like if you did enjoy the video. And Mamba forever.